Hello, I'm Anna Raimondi, coming to you from the Angel Cooperative in Ridgefield, Connecticut. Welcome to this episode of Talking to the Dead in Suburbia. Today, my guest is Deana Paqua, who is a wonderful healer, shaman. She does all kinds of different modalities. She's a teacher. She actually is an adjunct professor at WestCon, a college in Connecticut. So I'm so happy to be talking to you today.
Thank you, Anna.
You're very welcome. So I wanted to talk about what it means to be a contemporary shaman.
Okay, well, as you probably know, I love to talk about that. And actually, the title shaman, I do not use for myself. I call myself a shamanic practitioner. The title itself comes from the Evenki tribal region of Siberia, and it's a title for traditional healers in that culture that practice a very specific form of healing, where they're chosen by the spirit world, they're chosen by their ancestors often, and they will channel or bring through the spirit of that ancestor, who was often another medicine person centuries ago, to facilitate healing for their community. And it's a path of service. It's a very difficult path. Often they go through some major illness or accident or some major challenge that can only be healed by the spirit world. So in our contemporary Western world, we have some wonderful techniques that were brought through by Dr. Michael Harner, who is an anthropologist. So he was the first one to really title Western shamanism, calling it core shamanism. And he went and studied with these teachers in the Siberian area, also down in the Amazon jungle. And he found that they would go into this altered state of consciousness through different means. In the Amazon, it was mostly with plants, and in the Siberian region, it was through working with the drum, and also through ceremony and ritual that were very particular to those tribes. But they would go into this altered state of consciousness and connect with the spirit world and go into the spirit world and do the healing in the spirit world. And what he found over the years was that he was able to take some of what he had learned from these traditional healers and develop techniques that almost everyone can learn. So the majority of people can learn how to journey, as we call it. So that is contemporary shamanism. It's a series of techniques, meditations, and journeying with the drum, where you can go into an altered brainwave state and through practice connect with different helping spirits, ancestors, guardian angels, power animals, that we all have this ability. So it's something that's been very profound for me, over the course of my life, working with the spirit world to facilitate really dramatic change in my own life and in terms of physical healing, from cancer, from anxiety, from a near fatal car accident. And even though Western medicine and even different forms of holistic methods were also part of that, it was an integrative
Well, I think that
approach.
it's always in that place where it's integrated. There always has to be a handshake, and like you, I almost died when I was in my 40s. I went into cardiac arrest. I know you had a horrific car accident, and I also became a shamanic facilitator, although I'm really not doing it anymore. But I love journeying. I wrote a book called One with the Drum. But
Mm-hmm.
more important is when people journey and they go to meet their spirit guides or meet their power animals or their ancestors and bring the answers back for themselves, it's empowering. Don't you find that?
Absolutely. And I think that's one of the things that means the most to me. I really feel like teaching is where my work has gone. Uh,
I think it's wonderful that somebody who is an alternative healer winds up in a college, an accredited college, and opening this up to the minds of young people. How do you find that? Like, are they receptive to it?
yeah, I mean, it blows my mind really on a daily basis that this is happening, even though this is my 7th year now of teaching. at the university, and we have such an amazing team. And Dr. Robin Hausman was really the one who had this idea of bringing these alternative and holistic health courses into the university, and now it's an official part of the health promotion major. Students from any major can actually get a minor in holistic health now. And honestly, I'm just myself. I mean,
That's who we got to be, right?
I don't really have a choice. So I really talk to them very honestly and openly about different tools and techniques that they can learn. They learn to practice for themselves. Like journeying is something that we teach in the cross-cultural healing class. They learn to do these practices for themselves. So like you were saying, the empowerment. So when they have the experience themselves, it's much more tangible for them, just like it would be for anyone. And they're very open-minded. And many of our students are very diverse, and they have wonderful parents who are also open-minded and also still retain some of their own ancestral connections. So it just reinforces things for them. So it's really an amazing experience.
And what is a typical session like with you? Do you bring through people's ancestors to help them heal today, or do you heal the energy from the past?
Okay, so as you probably know in your own work, it's no two sessions are ever really the same. It's, a lot of different things can happen. But I always pray and call in protection and create a sacred space for the client. And I always call on their guides, angels, and ancestors as well as my own. And a lot of people, as you well know, are carrying a lot of heavy energy just from all the stress, the fear from what we're going through with the virus right now. So a lot of heavy energy. So the first thing that I try to help them do is release whatever they're ready to release. And that can take the form of just simple smudging and working with herbs and plants and just helping them do, from a more physical practice standpoint. And then, I have them laying on a massage table, nice and comfy under a blanket. And then I kind of go back and forth where I'm going into the spirit world to work with angels, guides, ancestors, power animals, sometimes spirits of plants and trees, because in shamanic work, as you know, we work a lot with nature as well as, more upper world guides and angels. So it's kind of like I'm in and out of the spirit world depending on what is happening with the client. But a lot of it is focused on clearing away the heavy stuff and then connecting them with or reinforcing their own divine connection and bringing in that light, whether it's coming from the sun or the moon or the stars or the angels. It's like I get a sense or feeling about whatever, or a message about whatever that person really needs in the moment. And then afterwards, we talk about what came through for them and how they can continue the healing process. Because like you, I want to empower people. So I always give them tools when they're leaving. Sometimes it's a pretty long list and I worry that I'm overwhelming them, but I like to give them
That's
tools so that they
wonderful.
can continue, working on
That's
their
really
issues.
wonderful. Now, do you believe that there's evil spirits as well as, can you?
Oh, sure. I mean, to me, it's like, look at the world that we live in. We have the good, the bad, and the ugly is the easiest way for me to summarize it. And I feel the same way. I mean, if we're talking about more of the heavenly realms, I believe, there's really nothing discordant there that we need to worry about. In shamanism, we talk about three different worlds. And the upper world is, where we might think of the angels, a lot of our ancestors, beings like Jesus and Mother Mary and Buddha would reside there. There's really nothing to fear as far as I'm concerned about the upper world realms. And then lower world, which is more nature-based, trees, stones, plants, that's also very nurturing energy. But when we're talking about this world that we all live in, again, there's the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I definitely have experienced, unfortunately, evil spirits, dark energy of all different types. So,
So why are they
that's one of,
here? Why is the evil here? What do you think?
well, I believe, that we live in a world that we were given the gift of free will. So we are given choices to either go down a healing path, or what I would call, a path of love and compassion. I don't even want to use like light and dark, but it's like a path of love and compassion, or a path that's more selfish or ego focused.
And do the
And
evil spirits capitalize on people who are going down that road?
I
And why
believe
are
so.
they here? Why are these evil spirits still here?
And I've read and looked into this myself. I'm not really sure. I think it's because, we as human beings have to take responsibility for our free will. And if we're engaging in unhealthy behaviors or thoughts, or coming from, a more ego or self-centered place,
Feeds
we're
on it.
going to attract more of that kind of energy. And, you know,
But do you think that, like what I have found with when I'm working with people who are on the spiritual journey, who are walking in the quote unquote light,
mhm.
that sometimes the darkness does come in to compete with that, to take away all that is good, to tempt, and to bring them out of that place, and then there's the haunting of the houses. So you deal a lot with houses that are occupied. So would you call yourself an exorcist as well?
I wouldn't, because I mean, I can help people clear away some of these darker spirits and energies, but exorcists, I think of that as like more of from the Catholic Church perspective. The priests go through certain training who are trained exorcists. And I did do some of that training, but I never finished it, to be honest, because I didn't want to spend too much of my time focusing on that level of darkness and evil as a kind of a full-time thing. So I know a lot about it. I can work with certain levels, but I also know like what's out of my pay grade, like what's something I don't want to work with. But I do know people that, I could refer
Well,
folks to.
when it comes to like what you've done along that line, getting evil spirits out of the house, can you give us an example of something that you've done or an interesting story about that?
Sure. And oftentimes it's not, what we might encounter is not so horrifically evil. It's just unsettled spirits, or spirits that don't know they're dead. I'm sure you see this a lot. Or they're so invested in life that they're still holding on to anger, or fear, or they're really attached to the physical world, so they don't want to go. So that's a lot of what I see. But there are occasionally things that are really malevolent. And that's where, as a shamanic practitioner, you spend a lot of time building your own connections to your own guides and angels, and getting that relationship. As you know, it's like something you spend many years doing, developing those relationships with your guides and angels, so they have your back, because they're really doing the work. I often feel like I'm just like the observer or the intermediary. I'm like, oh my God, you guys see that? What can we do about this? I
But
mean,
that's
that's,
what makes you a real healer, So for everybody who's listening, a real healer doesn't say, I did this, I healed you. A real healer says, I'm the vessel through which this comes. And that's pretty much what Deana's saying. Like, I think, like, for me, the same thing. It's like, did I just say that? Like, where did this come from? It's the same thing with you. It's like we are constantly getting these downloads, from spirit, to help people. And so that's a real healer. That's how if someone says to you, I did this, I healed you, then you walk away, you
oh,
walk away.
absolutely.
You got to be really careful when it comes to certain things, especially, around certain healers. There's a lot of people out there right now who are claiming to do a lot of different things, but follow your gut. You will know when it's true. Are you also on an advisory board?
Yeah, I'm part of the Institute of Holistic Health Studies advisory board at Western Connecticut State University. Yeah.
And so do you put forward programs that are going to be at the college as well?
So before, everything hit with COVID, the Institute of Holistic Health Studies, which I think has been around for over 20 years, to be honest. It's been around for quite a while. And more recently, Dr. Hausman and Professor Crystal Autori were the ones heading it up, and Professor Autori is the one who is the director now. And we did have programs that, for the public, we had lunch and learns, we had programs for staff, for the students. One that I really always looked forward to that we would do coming up around the finals time in December was called Stress Busters. And we would bring in comfort dogs, myself and another colleague who are shamanic practitioners. We would do healing work with the students. I would help them find their power animals. We had Reiki, crystal work, reflexology. We had comfort dogs. So
Yeah, that's pretty cool. That's
yeah,
really nice.
and the students love it.
Yeah, well, I would love it. Yeah. Would you mind if I told you about what I'm feeling around you?
No, please, of course.
Okay, who's Frank?
That was my dad, Frank.
Okay, he's helping you. He's helping you move forward. He's saying that he didn't quite understand it all when he was living, but he totally gets it now. And he's so sorry if he gave you a little bit of a hard time around it. Was he very Catholic?
Yes.
Yeah, because he feels like it's either the way I was raised, which is fine for people to follow that, but he wasn't broad-minded enough to embrace what you were doing. Who has the E name? E?
Well, my mom is Elvira.
Oh, okay.
She's
Is she
still
with you?
here.
Yeah. He's very much around her. He's saying she's changing the ways that she looks at things. Okay.
Yes.
And he's thanking you. Like you have been more of their parent in so many ways. And he's saying, thank you, thank you, thank you. He loves you very much and is with you every step of the way and totally gets it now.
Oh, that's good to hear. Yeah, he, my first entry into the healing arts was as a massage therapist. So I did have, you were asking me about being, working in university. So I do have a clinical background as a licensed massage therapist. I also have a master's in integrative health and healing. And I've worked in hospitals, so he was cool with that. And then I learned Reiki. He was fine with that. But then when I started getting into shamanism and started bringing home crystals and feathers and different tools, he was like, have you joined a cult?
That's what a lot of people think. Isn't that true?
I was like, Dad, who's in charge of this cult?
They don't know, what it's about. I think it's funny. When we met like, I don't know, 15, 16, 17 years ago.
Right.
You actually were learning something called IET and worked on me. I was the guinea pig.
Right.
It was wonderful. This is something that I think everybody needs to open their minds to. Just, you know, different socks for different jocks. Not everybody's going to do this or do that, but at least be open to it and recognizing that the energy around it is real and pure. Well,
Right.
thank you very much for being on the show. If you want to learn more about Deana and her practice, go to Embody the Sacred. And she is also on Facebook, so you can find her there as well. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, please like and comment on my YouTube channel and on the podcast itself. It's all there, so you never can miss an episode. May the angels protect and be around each and every one of you. God bless.
Thank you, Anna.
Thank you.